Redwall by Brian Jacques is the first of the Redwall series. If you're unfamiliar, Redwall is done by a British author. It's kind of like if you're familiar with the Narnia books, Reepicheep is a warrior mouse. Imagine a world where all the characters are like Reepicheep, or they're all animals like him, talking animals. Redwall takes place in a world where there are lots of different species of creatures living together, some heroic, some cowardly. And our main protagonist in this book is Matthias. He is a small mouse, very eager, but he's going to be a monk at the Redwall Abbey, which is a sort of organization that helps. They help anyone who comes to who asks for their aid. They're a very infamous organization throughout the land. And however, this vicious sea rat pirate, Clooney the Scourge, is on his way to conquer it because he wants it. So it's basically a sort of battle of wills between an army of sea pirate rats and the citizens of Redwall. So I read this book on audiobook, so I didn't know that Brian Jacques was the author. He also is the narrator. They also got a great voice cast to do the rest of the characters because there's a lot of characters. I really loved Redwall. It was a really great book. It's very vivid in its description and imagination, making my mouth water every time they talk about the delicious foods that the animals cook for each other, and really distinct, vivid dialogue. A lot of amazing cast of oddball characters. You know, they have all the different sea pirate rats have weird names like Cheese Thief and like Scum Nose, and that's because they're all slang. If you watch a crime thriller movie, sometimes someone will be called Blades or something because he likes to use knives or something. It's like that. It's really cool. And there's a lot of different characters, heroic and cowardly on both sides. Besides Matthias, there's also the Methuselah. He's like a mentor, an older mouse. There's squirrels. There's stoats, weasels, all sorts of different races of creatures. But basically the main plot line is Matthias trying to find the labeled sword of Martin the warrior, who is like the figurehead who created Redwall Abbey with others, while Clooney the Scourge puts on a siege campaign against the Redwall Abbey. So it was full of adventure. It was very memorable, had me on the edge of my seat. I really liked this book. It's great fantasy. Definitely will check out the rest, and I give Redwall a solid 5 out of 5. Mossflower is the second book of the Redwall series. It is a prequel novel about Martin the Warrior. He is a warrior mouse from the north who is passing through a kingdom when he's brutally arrested for having half of a sword on his person because he's in Katea, which is ruled by the brutal cat family, and that they won't allow people to have weapons. So he's thrown into the dungeon unfairly. And then, of course, he joins the rebellion, which is trying to overthrow the vicious cat tyrant who's in charge of everything. This prequel novel is enjoyable, but it's also very formulaic. It has the exact same kind of formula that the first book did. It has a main character who's a mouse. They have to go up against a sort of tyrant with their army, and they have their own army. And there's this really cool henchman that the villain uses. And then there's a quest thrown in the middle there. And then, a big battle at the end where usually the hero and the villain clash. And then, yeah. So it's a very formulaic and exactly the same. It does have some different world building for the different types of creatures, like the otters and an eagle, things like that. But overall, yeah, there's a lot of elements just thrown in there. They throw in a fox at the end, and it's just enjoyable, but it just felt a little disconnected. I was really into it at the beginning, but then it started repeating the same story beats as the first book. It's still enjoyable though. I enjoyed it quite thoroughly, and there was a lot of cool characters, but it just didn't feel fresh and as exciting as the first Redwall novel. So I give Mossflower a 3.5 out of 5.